Welcome aboard, Captain. Systems online. New blueprint acquired. Integrating new PDA data. Integrating new PDA data.
I'm investigating a $200,000 Lego dispute that's turning into one of the craziest legal cases in years. Brian Mansell claims that Bricks and Minifigs stole one of the largest Lego collections in the world, and the YouTuber who tried to get it back got arrested. So today, I'm trying to answer one question. Who's legally responsible? And it all started with this consignment agreement. A few years ago, the owner of a massive Lego collection, Brian Mansell, signed this agreement with a Bricks and Minifigs store run by Crystal Law Gorman. The agreement says the store would sell the collection, keep a percentage of each sale, and pay the owner the rest. But the important point is that the Mansell family would still own the Lego until it sold. Almost a year later, Brian drives out to the store and finds different people running it. BAM Franchising, the company behind Bricks and Minifigs, also known as BAM, had ended Crystal Law Gorman's franchise agreement and taken over the location. Crystal says BAM wrongfully took over the store, changed the locks, and seized everything inside. But BAM says it had the right to take over the franchise because Crystal allegedly fell behind on payments and planned to close the store. Afterwards, the Mansell family says they weren't allowed to go inside to check on their own collection, and the monthly payments stopped. Then Brian sent a letter ending the deal. He asked for the Lego back, the money owed, and sales records showing what had already been sold. He gave them 10 days. 10 days passed. The family says they still didn't get the Lego, the money, or the records. That's why this case is crazy. The original store owner says BAM is responsible, but BAM says this was never their deal. What's clear is that someone owes Brian money. Now, as a lawyer, this is where I start asking, who had control? Who had notice? And who has the records? In my opinion, refusing to produce any records could suggest that BAM is worried about legal exposure. Maybe they made an error, or maybe they don't want to risk producing something that people could interpret as them making a mistake. Later, we'll discuss a YouTuber who tried to help bring attention to this very issue. But first, who's responsible for the lost Lego? Crystal, the original person who ran the store, says BAM knew about the consignment. She says the collection was still inside the store. She told BAM who owned it, and they took it anyways. And she claims to have security camera evidence showing this.
It's taking on the business, he takes on all that consignment part.
BAM CEO Ammon McNeff said, "We were not a party to this agreement. Simply, BAM is saying they didn't sign the contract. They didn't approve the contract, and they shouldn't be responsible for the Lego." Their main argument is that Crystal broke company rules because consignment deals were not allowed under its franchise guidelines. Crystal disputes that. In fact, Crystal shows in this video that the franchise agreement does allow for consignment services. If true, that complicates BAM's argument, but BAM can still argue this particular consignment was never approved by corporate. But company rules aren't the same thing as property law. The Mansells never signed BAM's franchise manual. They allegedly signed a consignment agreement with a bricks and minifigs store. And under that agreement, they argue they still owned the Lego. And according to Crystal, BAM knew about the consignment deal. If a court believes that, BAM's "we were not a party" defense gets weaker, because even if BAM didn't sign the original consignment agreement, if they were on notice and knew about the Mansell Legos prior to taking over, then a court could still find them responsible. BAM also argues the agreement allegedly had a line that matters a lot now. It said Crystal was responsible for shortages, loss, or damage while the Star Wars Lego was in her control. It also said she had insurance. And BAM points to another detail. They claim the collection was not kept at the store after the public display. So they argue this is Crystal's responsibility. If they were not in the store when BAM took over, then that would suggest the Lego were not in their control and would strengthen their defense. That still leaves the bigger question. What happened to the family's Lego after BAM took over? The Mansells say they marked their items with yellow dot stickers on the UPC codes. And according to them, after BAM took over, Brian sent a buyer into the store who bought a sealed set from the shelf. It had a yellow dot, and the family says they were never paid for that sale. Crystal even alleges BAM removed the yellow dots from the sets. If true, that's one of the most damaging facts in the case, because removing the tags could suggest that BAM took intentional steps to make Brian's property harder to trace. Now, BAM says they only found between $2,000 and $5,000 worth of items that could possibly be related to the Mansell collection and offered to return them as a courtesy. But if Mansell marked items were still being sold from the store after the takeover, that could contradict what BAM is saying. BAM also disputes the value. The Mansells say the collection was worth over $200,000. Records reviewed by a third party put the value at roughly $60,000 to $98,000 for the box sets alone. Regardless of the value, under Oregon
Vital signs stabilizing.
Oregon law, if prosecutors can prove theft and the value is over $10,000, that can become aggravated theft in the first degree. And because the father, Ed Mansell, is 83 years old, Oregon's elder financial abuse law could also matter in a civil case. If a court finds financial abuse of someone 65 or older, damages can triple. And then a YouTuber named Reckless Ben decided he was going to investigate it himself, which is where the story gets even stranger. Reckless Ben is a YouTuber who saw Brian's story online and decided he was going to help get the Lego back. Ben went to the bricks and minifig store with hidden cameras and asked the operators where the Mansell Lego was.
My friend said that you guys have some of his Legos, I think, and he told me to come here and see if I could pick them up.
Who's your friend?
I think they're Brian's Legos. It's like a big Star Wars collection set, I think.
That part is important legally because Oregon's recording law is not as simple as one-party consent. Video-only recording is different, but if a hidden camera is also capturing in-person audio, Oregon generally requires all the participants in the conversation to be informed of the audio recording. The video spread widely online, and Brian's case went from a local dispute to a national story. But then Ben allegedly did something that could hurt the whole case. At one point, Ben claimed one of the new store operators offered to return the sets if Mansell made a public apology. Mansell reportedly refused because he believed an apology could hurt his legal case.
I need a written apology from Brian.
I need all the negative comments taken off. I need positive reviews on there to make up for the damage. And then I'll give them back.
I'm not apologizing for shit.
Ben then allegedly sent a fake AI apology video showing Mansell apologizing, apparently to see if that would get the sets returned. But according to Ben, it didn't work. Now that could seriously hurt a case. If one viral video is fake, a defense attorney can use that to attack the real videos too. They can ask the jury, if he fabricated this, how do we know the rest is real? Then Ben took the story to Utah, where BAM is headquartered. But he didn't just go to the BAM office. BAM alleges Ben's team went to multiple private homes, dressed as delivery workers, approached a family member who wasn't involved in the business, and even sent someone who allegedly pretended to be from a church congregation to get one person out of their house. The legal issue here is location and targeting. Filming from a public sidewalk is usually treated differently than going to private homes and using fake identities to draw people outside. And now there's a separate legal problem: the police response. In March 2026, Utah police reportedly arrested Ben and charged him with misdemeanor stalking, targeted residential picketing, disorderly conduct, and criminal trespass. Ben says officers stopped his group for running a stop sign, even though the footage allegedly shows a full stop. He says police searched the car for drugs, held them for about 3 hours, and found nothing. Police also searched the Airbnb where Ben was staying. The warrant said they were looking for stolen Lego merchandise. If those stops, searches, or arrests lacked legal cause, then Ben's constitutional rights may have been violated. And in my opinion, that can mean Ben has a lawsuit against the police department. After the arrest, Ben claimed police injured what appeared to be his left shoulder. Then BAM filed its own lawsuit in Utah, which accuses Ben of trying to manufacture legal leverage. According to the complaint, Ben's team allegedly disguised a contract as a delivery signature form. BAM says a store manager thought she was signing for a package, but the document allegedly included a clause saying Ben couldn't be trespassed from the store. The complaint says that Ben allegedly claimed the store owed him $5,000 every time employees called police on him. In the video screenshots attached to the complaint, BAM says Ben later demanded $40,000 based on that alleged document. If true, that gives BAM a way to frame this content as alleged fraud, extortionate pressure, or harassment. So BAM requested a temporary restraining order to keep Ben away from the people and places connected to BAM. But that order didn't just ask the court to keep Ben away. It also sought to take down Ben's videos about the dispute. And get this, BAM even reached out to Patreon, trying to get Ben's content removed. But Patreon CEO denied the request. And I see a big problem with this. Once you move from stopping contact to trying to remove videos and funding platforms, it starts looking less like protection and more like silencing criticism. And that can backfire for BAM if they want the public to believe that they did nothing wrong. And they didn't just go after Ben. They also sued Brian Mansell. That's important, because Brian didn't make the alleged deepfake, and Brian didn't show up at anyone's house. BAM's argument is that Brian coordinated and directed Ben's campaign. Brian's side would likely argue this looks like a slap suit, which is a lawsuit designed to pressure someone into staying quiet by making the fight expensive. Both Oregon and Utah have anti-slap style protections, but where the lawsuit is filed matters. Different states have different procedures, deadlines, and standards. BAM filed in Utah. Now, BAM will say this is not a slap. They'll say they're protecting their people from harassment, false claims, and dangerous conduct, and maybe they can prove that. But suing Brian is where this gets risky for BAM.
Break free with the new Opera GX, the browser that puts you in control, with a brand new design that frees up even more pixels for personalization and an inventory of features to up your game at every level. Like GX Control to help rein in your resources with integrated limiters for RAM, CPU, and network. A sidebar for direct access to your favorite side quests, streams, and posts, and built-in privacy.
Brian is the person asking where his family's collection went. In my opinion, if BAM wants the public to believe this is all just harassment and they are not responsible, the best evidence would be simple. Don't sue Brian, the person who's clearly been wronged. Instead, show us the records. At this point, there are 4 legal fights happening at the same time. The first is the reported criminal investigation in Oregon. Kaiser Police and the Marion County DA have been looking into what happened to the Lego. The allegations raise possible Oregon theft issues, including theft by deception, theft by receiving, and aggravated theft in the first degree. No criminal charges have been filed yet, but the investigation is described as still open. The second fight is Bam's lawsuit in Utah. The third is Ben's criminal case in Utah. Those charges are about what Ben did at private homes, not what happened to the Lego. But they still matter, because if Ben becomes a witness in the Oregon case, opposing lawyers can use his conduct to attack his credibility. And the fourth fight is Crystal Law Gorman's lawsuit against Bam. She says Brian still had about $100,000 to $125,000 in Lego at the store when Bam took over. Oregon investigators are asking what happened to the Lego. Brian is trying to recover the value of the collection. Bam is trying to stop Ben and Brian's campaign against them. Ben is fighting charges from the way he investigated the story. And Crystal is now suing Bam for allegedly taking over the store, seizing assets, and blaming her for missing inventory. Which brings us back to the question everyone keeps asking. Where's the Lego right now? Bam says they found between $2,000 and $5,000 worth of items that could possibly be related to the Mansell collection after Bam took over. Records reviewed by a third party put the box sets alone between roughly $60,000 and $98,000. If Bam only found $5,000 worth of possible Mansell-related items, at least $55,000 is still unaccounted for on the box sets alone. And if Brian's $200,000 number is right, then almost the entire collection is missing. But in Bam's complaint, they give their clearest answer yet to the missing Lego. Bam says it found one clue in the old point-of-sale records. According to them, the record showed 367 Star Wars lot set purchases with an estimated retail value of about $46,000, plus 336 Star Wars lot purchases worth about $12,600. But Bam also admits a problem. Those records don't prove which exact sets were sold or whether they were Mansell sets. So the records could support Bam's theory that a lot of the Lego was sold before corporate took over, but they don't fully answer the question. Meanwhile, Crystal says Bam has refused to provide the complete records back to her. This is probably one of the reasons she filed her lawsuit, so she can force Bam to produce those records. And according to Brian's side, the yellow dot purchase creates another problem. After Bam took over, someone connected to the investigation bought a sealed set from the store with the Mansell family yellow dot still on it. That means at least one Mansell item was still on the shelf after Bam took over. And the family says they were never paid for that sale. I gotta say, if this is true, it makes me wonder if one marked item was sold, how many more could have been sold? If I was arguing this in court, this would be a major argument I would make for Ben. Bam later said it became aware of the consignment and said some items had been identified. They also offered to help through appropriate means. That's very different from their original statement. We were not a party to this agreement. Generally, if you're holding someone else's property, you have to account for it. You don't get to say, we only found a few items, if there are records or witnesses showing there may have been more. And Crystal says, Bam never completed this process and never provided real accounting. That's a big problem. At minimum, it suggests a sloppy takeover. At worst, Brian's side will argue it made the Mansell Lego harder to trace, because once inventory is mixed, sold, moved, or stripped of tags, proving ownership gets much harder. Because the real question isn't whether the Lego was valuable. Everyone agrees it was. The real question is who had it last, and why can't they say where it went? Reckless Ben's videos brought massive attention to this case. They helped force public responses that may not have happened otherwise. But the alleged deepfake, the home visits, and the confrontational tactics may also give Bam's lawyers arguments they can use against him in court. That's extremely important. A defense lawyer can use Ben's methods to distract from Brian's evidence, especially if they can show a connection between the two. So right now, the Oregon investigation is described as still open. The lawsuits are pending, and the Mansell family says they still don't have the Lego. As a lawyer, what I can say, we don't yet have enough evidence to say who committed a crime or who is legally responsible. But I do have enough to say Brian deserves a full accounting and is owed money. If Bam took over the store, Crystal had the collection, or the new operator sold any part of it, someone should be able to produce records. Until that happens, the missing Lego remains a massive legal problem that needs to be solved. Subscribe to keep following the case and click here to watch another video. Behind me are 5 former criminals, ranging from a credit card thief to a criminal on the FBI's most wanted list. I'm spending the next 24 hours with them to uncover their methods so that you know exactly what to look out for. To begin, I'm meeting a professional pickpocket who spent years perfecting his craft in the busiest cities in America. His name is James R. Hustle, and he used to make a living by stealing from people in plain sight. Today, he's going to show us exactly how pickpockets choose their targets and what you should look out for. So, James, you spent years pickpocketing in cities like this. What makes people an easy target?
People not paying attention. People distracted, looking on the phone a lot. Like that guy over there at the free taco sample. He's over there having a conversation with the taco lady. You know, I could easily probably get him.
So how do you get close without raising suspicion?
That's the hard part. You know, most people